In this video I'm going to show you how you can make this personalised Celtic knot three leaf pattern, and in this instance I'm going to use a range of different fonts. This is the Korean letter A if you press A on your keyboard. This is the Russian font A, this is a Hebrew font, and this is an Arabic font. Now you can obviously put whatever characters you want in the centre of this Celtic knot pattern. So we're going to do it using Fluid Designer for 3D printing, and so we're going to use pendants, but I'm also, if I just click Group Library, that'll just refresh my file list here. I'm also going to use this Arabic font letter A, so I'm going to use this object here as well. I'm going to use a Hebrew font letter A. This is A on the keyboard, I should point out. So that's this object here, and I'm also going to use a Korean one, which is this first one here, and also a Russian font as well. But as I say, you can obviously, so I'm going to use this object here, but you can obviously use anything. So if I just go to the Pendants folder, scroll down until I find Celtic knots. Now there are a number of different Celtic knot patterns that you can purchase from us. Now these two look a little bit the same, but they're not. This is 001, this is 301. The difference between the two is that this is kind of flat, this is still three-dimensional. So I'm going to use this object at the moment. So there it is, and you can see what it looks like if I just tilt it. I'll just switch on screencast key, so any key presses I make should be displayed down here. And I'll just go back to view and top view. So the first thing I'm going to do is to import the Korean font A and put it here, and we import by doing File and Append the object. And first of all, if I just go to the Groups folder, I can see alphabet Korean fonts. I want Korean font A, and we always append the object. So it's Korean font A, we append that from the library. Now, as you can see, that's pretty big at the moment compared to the Celtic knot. Well, if I actually look at the size of the Celtic knot, it's actually only 11 millimeters. So I'm going to scale that up. And we can scale in Fluid Designer by pressing S on the keyboard. And I could drag it with the mouse until I get a size that I want. So that's about, what, 23, 24 millimeters in the Properties panel. Or I could just type in a scale factor of 2 and then press the Enter key. Now, whenever you do scale in Fluid Designer, whenever you scale curves, which is what this is, you must always do Control A and apply the scale. Now, when I do that, watch the cross section shrink back down. This object at the moment has got a cross section diameter of 1 millimeter. In other words, the thickness of this is 1 millimeter. The thickness of the Korean font A is 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. Now these are parametric smart objects, so I can select my pendant and I can change it to the same cross section, 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters, as the Korean letter A, and that's what I'm actually going to do in this instance. You could actually set it to any value that you want, but I'm going to do it as 1 by 2. So if we go to view and top view now, and so what I want to do is I want to position this letter A in the top corner here. So what I want to do now is to scale this object down. So if I press S on the keyboard to scale it down and get it to roughly the scale that I want. Now remember, you must do Control A and apply the scale or the thickness won't be right anymore. And then I can just position it. Now I'm going to switch off the snap here so I can position it a little bit more fine detail. And I think I'm going to have to scale it down a bit more. So if I do S on the keyboard, scale it down a little bit more. Remember to do Control A and apply the scale. And then we'll just try and position it. So we want to position it so it's overlapping. Now I'll sort that out a little bit more later on. I'll just add the other fonts first of all. So I'm going to add a Russian font in the middle here. So if I go to File and Append, just go up through the menu system until you get to the Groups folder, and then look for alphabet Russian font, and again I want font A, so it's Russian font A, append that from the library. Now when it's imported, it's not actually selected when the red is around it, the red border, so you need to click on it, and I need to scale that down. So it's S on the keyboard and move the mouse towards the center until you get to roughly the size you think you're going to need, and always remember to do Control A and apply the scale. And I'll just reposition that there. Okay, so I now need a Hebrew font. So if I go to File and Append, just go up through the menu system until you get to Groups folder. I want Hebrew font, and again I'm using letter A here. Could of course use any characters from the system. Just select it, move it across, and just position it up in that corner there, and S on the keyboard, and just scale it down to the size you think it's going to be. Remember to do Control A and apply the scale, and you notice the thickness apply. If you don't do that, you will have problems when you're 3D printing in terms of what size is this object. Now I want to scale that down a little bit more, I think. Control A and apply the scale, and just position it so that it's in that leaf of the Celtic knot pattern. So we've got one final one to do down here, which is an Arabic one. So again, File and Append, just go up through the menu system till you get to Groups folder, Arabic Saudi font, letter A, Object, Arabic sounding font A, and append that one from the library. And as you can see, this is quite big as well, so we need to do S on the keyboard and scale it down in size to what you think's about the right size. And always remember to do Control A and apply the scale straight away, and then we can just move it across and move it down. Now that part of it is actually going to have to overlap there. Okay, so we've positioned the various objects. Now as you can see, when I look like that, things are not actually touching. So if we 3D printed this, we wouldn't get one solid object. In particular, this Arabic font isn't touching anything, or the main body of it isn't, that bit is. So what can I do? Well, if I actually click onto the pendant body itself, that's the Celtic knot pattern, if I go to View and Front View now, yeah, we were in Top View originally, I want Front View. Okay, so if we press the if we press the Tab key on the keyboard to go into edit mode, we can see all these control points going around the object, and if we press A on the keyboard, that will select all of them. And if I press S on the keyboard for scale, but I don't want to scale the whole thing, I want to just scale it in the Z direction, which means that I can just squeeze it up like that. So I've limited my scale into just the Z direction, and so what I've now got is the object is in fact overlapping those 4 font characters. And once I've done that, I can press the Tab key on the keyboard to come out of that, and just in case, hit Control A and apply the scale. Shouldn't actually make any difference in this case, because we've not made it smaller or larger in effect. Okay, so there is our finished object, or almost finished. Now because these are all the same dimensions, these are all 1 by 2 millimeters, you could in fact highlight the Arabic font, hold down the Shift key, highlight the Hebrew, highlight the Russian, highlight the Korean, and then you could join all those objects together, and then again hold down the Shift key, highlight the Celtic knot pattern, and join those together as well. And notice it all goes grey at the end, it takes on the properties of the Celtic knot. So that's essentially your finished object, and we can see the size of it over here, so it's about 23 millimeters. It's the sort of maximum size of it, so the grid itself is actually 20 millimeters. Okay, so that's how easy it is to make a Celtic knot pattern personalised 3-leaf pendant. And what you would do now is to go to File and export it as a wavefront or a wavefront OBJ file or as an STL file. I like to do this to the desktop, and I saved it earlier as Personalised Celtic Knot Pendant 3-leaf with world fonts. So you just export that object, that OBJ file I should say, and then what you must always do if you're using Fluid Designer for 3D printing, you must always go to Netfab Basic and import it into Netfab Basic and just run the repair procedure in Netfab. I mean, obviously I've already done it for this one, but it will repair it. Just run automatic repair and then just apply the repair. You just always need to do that because of the way that Fluid Designer works. Okay, so you just apply the repair. And that's essentially your file that you can upload to Shapebase then. And I've done that with this one, and you will find this on Shapebase. Okay, so best of luck with doing yours.